Okay, so pretty much I just redone my portfolio, and I used a method that I never knew existed, and I used Photoshop to build it. So this is the old site. No, not you. That's the new one. This is the old one, okay? And it felt very claustrophobic, and you know, I've been posting it on forums like Polycount and stuff, and you know, asking for some opinions. And a lot of people said that you know, the thumbnails are too small, and you know, they didn't like how many clicks it took to actually get to some work. So I pretty much redesigned it in Photoshop, and this is what I've come up with. It's based off a guy called Hazardous, who has a pretty similar kind of layout. It's just kind of big, open, and you know, your work's right there. Easy one click and everything's there. Maps, you know, wireframes and stuff. I've still got a few spaces to fill out, but pretty much cool. Pretty much done, and it's online. You can check it out. That's the liamshaw3d.com. But yeah, I'm just going to show you how I put this together inside of Photoshop. Okay, load it up. Okay, the first thing you want to do is obviously make a new document. So, you know, new, and just make the width whatever, like, you know, make it 2000. That's absolutely huge. 2000 by 2000. Press Control 1 to go 100%, and then press C to go into your crop tool, or right click that one, and then just pretty much crop out an area, a size you want to sort of display your website at. So something like that. That is 100%. You can see there. Then you want to go to image size and then just round off the pixels a little bit. So what was that? 50. Yeah, that'll do. So that's a nice rounded off sort of size. Okay, now the first thing we want to do is obviously we want to design like a layout. So you know, what I did is I knew I wanted it just to be like title bar, then obviously have all my work down here, like so. So that'd be title bar and work. So all I did was I pressed T to draw out a new text box, like so, and then I just type in my name, which is Liam Shaw, and then make my text nice and black, and then I'd hit enter. Make sure you hit the right enter near your sort of numpad. Otherwise, when you're in Photoshop, you hit enter, or underneath the backspace, it's going to make a new bottom bit. So to finish off like a text box in Photoshop, it's the enter button where your sort of numpad is. Press V or click your selector tool, and then just sort of position this a little bit better. Hold Control to sort of be able to move it around. If you let go Control, it's going to kind of snap to places. If you hold Control, you can literally put it where you want. So it's a bit more of a finer kind of positioning. And then what I'm going to do now is, once I've got this layer selected, I'm going to hold Alt, drag it, and then hold Shift as well, just so I can sort of just position this where I want. Something like that. And then I'm going to add 3D Artist. I can spell it, and then I put my email address in there, so you know, your mum at porn.com. And then I just make this a bit smaller, just so it's not as predominant as my name, because you want the guys to the people who are viewing this to remember your name. Line it up with the bottom of that, hold Shift, just sort of pull it out a little bit, like so, and that's cool. That's done. And then what we need to do now is establish a sort of universal spacing size. So, you know, pretty much press M and drag out a selection box, put it all the way across. Press Control Shift N for your new layer, like so. And then G for your paint bucket tool. You're going to have to right click this and select the paint bucket. It'll be gradient by default, and then just fill line by clicking. And then you can make this spacing thing whatever size you want. I'm going to go for something like this big for this tutorial. Press Control 1 again to zoom out, and then I'm just going to drag that up here to the top. Make sure it's right to the top. Drag it down, pull it around here. What I'm doing here is I'm making sure that the spacing for my text is spot on. So just pull that up a little bit. Push it. You can use up and down arrow keys to sort of nudge stuff. So it's kind of cool. And now that I know that my text is in that spacing sort of thing that we decided on, we can start to pull out the rest of these and design kind of like a grid for our work. Now, a good selection tool in Photoshop, if you're in select mode or V, is to control and click on images. And you can see, if you look in the layers over here, you can see that changing as I control click. So it's just a visual way to select your different images and stuff there. And the sort of resizing tool in Photoshop is Control T, and that's going to open up like these little widget things here, which you can drag around and stuff. So easy to resize stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead now, duplicate some of these. Remember, Alt and drag to duplicate. It's going to make a new layer for you and stuff as well. And then all we need to do now is pretty much design like some sort of grid for our, you know, thumbnails and our work and stuff, like so. And then Control T, and you're gonna notice when you're not on the lines, it's like a rotation widget. So now we can rotate this, and if we hold Shift, it's gonna snap 2 degrees, and we just want to do a 90-degree angle, like so. You cannot do sort of angled images when you're designing these websites. Like my friend said, oh, it'd be cool if you did like stuff on like 45-degree angles and had triangles and stuff, but you just can't do it. It can't write the HTML code like that, so you got to stick to boxes, which is unfortunate, but that's just the way it goes. So yeah, pretty much continue dragging these out. Design your width like so. I personally didn't want to go for something all kind of uniform, and you know, so what I did next was I started to control click stuff, and I started to delete out sort of let me go to plan, delete out. So it's to delete underneath the insert to do that. Just delete out some of these lines, like just so I can have some sort of irregular thumbnail sizes, and everything wasn't kind of you know, the same and stuff, and it just made for a more interesting kind of design. You know, everything is not all the same. We've got some of these kind of elongated thumbnails as well. So yeah, once you're happy with it, like say like this is what you wanted, what you do next is you collapse all these together. So select the upmost sort of layer, hold Shift, and come down to layer 1 like that. Shift click, and it's going to select them all for you, and then press Control E to sort of collapse that all together. What we can do now is get rid of no, actually we're going to keep that. What we need to do now is pretty much select each individual sort of space, and the way we do that is to make sure you've got Magic Wand tool, which is over here. By default it'd be quick selection, but you want Magic Wand. Make sure Contagious is on. You can do anti-aliasing if you want, but I don't think it'll matter at this point. Tolerance, just make sure it's like 1 or 0. Yeah, that's going to pretty much isolate the box once you click in there. Same with that. So what this allows us to do is to Control Shift N for a new layer. Is pretty much fill out these boxes. So I'm just going to go ahead and select them all like so, and press G, go to this new layer, fill out, and then we pretty much have a set of thumbnails like so. And then what we can do now is, if you want to take it further, you can start to trim away some of the edges of these at random, so you can sort of get away from that standard size that's going on with these thumbnails. You know, I just don't like everything to be the same. And if you hold the if you've got a selection like this, if you hold spacebar and sort of drag, you can. I think you've got to be in V, or no, you can just click and drag to move this around. That's pretty cool. And just delete what you want. But yeah, even if so, you can break away the grid system if you wanted to. You know, you could start to delete inside and have it completely random, depending on what sort of look you're gonna go for. But in my portfolio, I kept the kept a nice sort of size in between these, and just had sort of, you know, the edges and stuff kind of chipped away and whatnot, because I thought that was cool. But yeah, pretty much design your sort of layout of what you want your home page to look like. And the next thing we need to do is separate these out. So let's just see. An easy way to do this could be to control and click the thumbnail, which selects everything in this layer. And then what we do is Control J. Okay, never mind that. Control J first to duplicate. Select this, and then what we do is hold Alt to take away this selection, like so. Actually, we want to keep this one, don't we? Hold Alt to take away from this selection, like so, and then just press delete. And what we're left with there is an isolated layer, and then we're gonna have to do this for every single thing. So like, you know, control click, make sure you're in M mode, or, you know, selection tool, hold Alt to take away, and then we delete that as well, and we're left with these two isolated layers. Because the reason why we need to separate these layers is in order for Photoshop to distinguish this as like a separate image, it has to be on a separate layer, because that's just how it works when you come to write in the code and stuff. So pretty much all you do now is separate these layers, and you combine these together up there, add in like I don't know, like YouTube links and Facebook and, you know, stuff like that up there, or wherever you want to place them. And that's pretty much it. I'm just going to go to my setup file now. So pretty much, as you can see, this is what I have on my website. Just reposition my background because it's a bit off. Okay, so what I've got done right here is I've combined the title like so, and so when we come to slicing, it actually selects the entire thing instead of 1 and 2, just to save space. You know, these need to be separate because they're separate links. So they're here: resume, YouTube, and Facebook button, and then all these are separate layers, all these buttons. So how do we make this into a website? Very simple. Get rid of your background, you don't need that. Select the top one, select the bottom layer, just shift and click. And all we need to do is come to our image, is it image layer? Alright, let me just clear my slices first. So all we need to do now is select the layers like so, come to layer and click new layer based slices, and you're going to notice now that we've got all these weird lines around, and they're all box shaped because, like I said before, you just cannot write diagonal kind of HTML image codes, so everything needs to be box or rectangular shape. It doesn't matter if you get rid of the edges. Photoshop will sort of, like, because I sort of rounded off the edges a little bit for, you know, just that's kind of the style I want to go for. But what we need to do now is, this is an important bit, is we need to come down to our crop tool, right click that, click on slice select tool, and then what we need to do is just click the background, and you're going to notice now that all our slices have turned blue. And what we need to do now is select one. When you select it, you're going to notice it's going to turn this beige kind of earwax kind of colour, and if you double click that, you get this little pop out menu here, and the naming convention is the name of the image. So, you know, just name all these with a bit of common sense involved, like title. And when it comes to URL, for this instance, we don't need to do anything, so we just need to change that as title. Boom. Next one, this would be eventually an icon, but I'm just going to use this as an example. You will need to do all of these in order to make them links. Double click, call this plant beast, as that's what it is, and the URL would be his page. So in this instance, it would be plantbeast.html. And what that's going to do is it's going to write this image as a link, and it's going to what it's pointing to is the page that you're going to name that character page to. So let's further explain this. So as you can see, right down at the bottom here in Google Chrome, it says there liamshaw3d.com plantbeast2.html. That's because I named this plantbeast2 The reason I named it 2 is because I still have the old website available to look at. And when you click to this, it brings up plant-based HTML to it. So it's basically just pointing to the HTML page. And this layout here is just a separate Photoshop document, which I wrote. And on this version, I made this as a link. You can go ahead and do this as too, on the title here. But this would be index.html, which is going to be, index is basically the home page of any website. But you can make that index if you want to, but there's no point because this will be the index page, and there's no point linking to itself. So that's why I just kind of left it before. But pretty much, you've got to do this for every single image. So that'd be scrab, and then I'd call this scrab.html, and that's pretty much it. You don't need to do any of these if you don't want to. And that's pretty much it, guys. You got to go through and name all these like so, and then with the I don't need to select that. We can delete the background out for now if you want. So drag it down here. I'm just gonna leave it. Once you have all your names done, like resume, and I pointed this to resume.pdf because I just uploaded my resume as a PDF onto my website, and then it just opens up a viewable PDF on Google Chrome. So that was kind of cool. But pretty much, how do you write this as a website? All you got to do is go file, save for web, and that's going to open up this kind of save for web, sort of like a, separate kind of saver. And then what I did was I came down to JPEG high. By default, the quality will be 100. But what I do to optimize the images is to bring them down to about 50 to 60. 55 is good, and you're going to notice that there's no change at all. Pretty much what this does is compresses your image. Have you ever been on someone's portfolio and the images take ages to load? That's the reason why that does that is because the JPEGs they're not compressed at all. This is full fucking compression, and they're like 5 meg each to write a big JPEG file. And you can see once we optimize these, the images are like 200 kilobytes, which is nothing. So your website instantly loads, and it just takes away that kind of annoying sort of waiting session. You want to make your portfolio as easy as possible to browse, so make sure you sort of compress your JPEGs a little bit when you're building a portfolio. Make sure optimize is on, turn these 2 off. You can convert to sRGB if you want. I just left all these settings alone, and all you got to do then is hit save. Pretty much just change the JPEGs, make sure it is JPEG, press save, and then on here make sure you select HTML and images. In that way it writes all the code for your website, like so. I'm going to make a separate folder. I'm going to call this demo, and just call it what you want. I'm going to call this portfolio. So all slices, default settings, like so. Boom, hit save. It's going to go through and it's pretty much written the entire website for you because it's awesome. I think this is in here. Fuck, where's that saved to? Let me just redo. I have no idea where that's saved to. When we saved out with demo, we're in final. I know where we saved out. I know where we're going. There must be the last place that I saved. Alright, and this is what you get. Wherever you save to, you get the HTML version here, which is all the code necessary for your website to display, which is awesome because you just need to copy and paste it in. And the images here, as you can see, it's kind of cut out everything for you, and it's written. These are the spaces in between the images. This is just in order for it to display properly on the internet. So it's written all these kind of weird space files, but as you can see, their size is 1 kilobyte, which is nothing. So in terms of loading times, even these images here, that's 44 kilobytes. It's just absolutely. The compression in Photoshop is really awesome. So make sure you do use that. And if you can press Control, just right-click that and open it with Google Chrome, you can see a preview of what we've got here. Quick tip as well: if you go in here, find where it says a save for web slices here, and underneath that, just type this weird, I don't know what this is called, it's like a weird comma, not comma, it's like a weird, what are they called now? I don't know what it's called. It's pretty much one of them. Type in center, and then the corresponding one as well, and then come down here and find save for web slices again. Do one of them again, slash it, center again, and then press save. And what that's going to do is, now that when we open it in Google Chrome, is that it's going to center your portfolio for you, and that's pretty much all you need to do. As the layout is what you've designed in Photoshop, and your layout is going to be awesome. So yeah, how do you get this onto the internet now? Let me just go on my internet provider is something called one.com. It's a very simple HTML host. WilliamShaw3D.com. Log in. Go down to Web File Manager, and then all you've got to do it's going to be different for each sort of web provider. I'd hit a new file, and I'd call this demobeast.html, like so, and then I click edit, and then I click on here, press Ctrl A, and I copy, and then boom, like so. I'm actually going to go ahead and copy the original one, just because the naming conventions are different for the images. So but it's pretty much the same layout anyway. So let me just copy this one instead, so when I actually load this up it actually works. But yeah, that's pretty much what you need to do. Save that, and then when I view this, it's going to be this. I need to hit the centers as well. I didn't write these in there, did I? No. So center it out. Mine auto completes as well, which is annoying. And this is pretty much it, guys. You know, just going through now, tweaking, save view, and it's centered for us now. But you won't see images, and because when we wrote this out in Photoshop writes it to an images file as well. So inside your HTML thing, you're going to need to make a new folder called images. And the reason for this is it actually writes it here. You can see it says images, so it's pointing to the folder. And if that folder doesn't exist, it's like, well, hang on a minute, this file doesn't exist. So make sure you're pointing to images, and when I come in here, you're going to see all the images that are needed to display your portfolio. So all you do is just go boom, upload. Where's my portfolio gone? And then okay, I don't know where it's gone now. New layout. You just go to images, press Ctrl All, hit open, and then it upload all your shit onto the internet. And that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, and then you've got a nice custom built portfolio, and you've complete control over where and how you display your images. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you have fun using the slice tool. Pretty easy to get the hang of once you sort of, you know, do it for the first time. But I don't know, I just noticed a very, you know, a lot of people use Carbon Made or these blog spots. And, you know, I just like looking at all this custom built stuff, you know, stuff that you'd never seen before. It looks nice. And when you try search for like a layout on the internet, it's always, yeah, I mean, they're not bad designs, but they're just not designed to display 3D work. So yeah, I encourage you to have a blast on the slice tool. It's pretty sweet. And that pretty much concludes my little crappy tutorial here. So in a bit.